Steven, number 3.
Oh, man. I'm sort of doing this on the fly, but
yeah, you can just say like, "Shut up, this game is stupid." You guys do.
No, I love this.
Brunch. Hit it, boys.
Oh man, the hits keep coming. I'll tell you, folks. This is our third. Is this the third time? We lost an episode.
Yeah, we did.
We're not going to lie to you. We lost an episode. And you know what? It sucks because we pushed this. This episode kept getting delayed for so many reasons. And there was a great relief that we had in finally being able to do this episode. You and I just jammed. And this always, every time we lose an episode, we're like, you wouldn't believe how good it was. Yeah. We were clean. No vocalized pauses. Agreed on all points, but it wasn't boring. We did a lot of... We got some places.
Yeah, I think that whenever we lose an episode, it's never an episode where it's like, okay, we have this plotted out. It's more just like, let's press the button and let's just see where it goes.
Right,
and
like
it's just
we know what
that
keys the song's in.
Can't replicate.
Let's play something.
Yeah.
And see what we had our key. We were like, all right, this one's going to be in the key of Joe Biden inauguration and New Radicals. You get what you give, and we went everywhere.
Yep.
We tipped our hand a little bit. We said, hey, when our ship comes in, we're going to do X. And then we said, and let us tell you, our ship's coming in. So read into that whatever you want. You didn't get to hear how we said it or
what exactly we were talking about.
I think that, I'll be honest, even if you did, you probably wouldn't have understood it, but we made a reference to our ship coming in. We talked about how I will never declare this a music podcast because I am too strongly aligned with you to say, oh, I got a music podcast. No.
Can't have a music podcast when half of the podcast is not music guys.
Right. And this came off of you saying it was great that we had Steven Horowitz on today's episode, which that part we did not lose. Longtime music journalist and online friend Steven Horowitz is on today's podcast.
I will say, thank God. Like, there's literally nothing worse than wasting a guest's time and being like, sorry, we didn't get that.
There was a Red Sox prospect who I had done some stories with, so I had forged a good relationship with him. And when he signed with the Red Sox, he donated a bunch of his signing bonus to, I think, the Jimmy Fund in honor of his grandmother who had just died of cancer. And he called me when he was doing it and talked for a few minutes. He talked about his grandmother, what she meant to him, and I lost it. I lost the audio. Something happened with the audio. I didn't plug the right thing in, and I had to call him back and say, hey, look, I know what you said, but I'm not just going to do these quotes from memory. I'm a journalist, and I don't want to say like, hey, he vaguely said something along the lines of this, so would you mind repeating?
Paraphrasing, he said cancer is bad.
Right, like would you mind repeating like the anecdotes you shared about your late grandmother? And I was like, there's a lot of reasons why people hate the media. But, like, I hate the media right now.
Yeah.
I hate myself for saying, hey, can you repeat that? But we have Steven on to talk about New Radicals because it's so funny we're saying all this again. Big week for New Radicals. The short-lived Gregg Alexander project, which had one album, Maybe Been Brainwashed 2, which came out in 1998, and the song You Get What You Give, which was maybe a little slept on at the time. It had a music video. People cared about that. People remember the song, but I think that it is aged very well and people understand it better now than they did at the time. It is one of the greatest songs ever. So we have Steven because he, in addition to being a huge New Radicals fan and probably the person who most understands their significance, he's one of the few people who has access to and has gained the trust and the friendship, whatever you want to say, of the great Gregg Alexander, who disbanded the project, which was, they would play as a band and everything, but he was New Radicals. It was all his thing. He produced the album himself. He wrote all the songs. He was the mind behind all this. You and I, Pete, in the last, hour, got so deep into You Get What You Give by New Radicals that we were asking questions like, and we had like, a 20-minute discussion about their October 2nd, 1999 performance on all that. I'm laughing because we just said October 2nd, 1999 so many times in this last episode. They performed You Get What You Give on an All That episode that aired on October 2nd, 1999. There was debate as to whether or not that was actually the performance date or just the air date. You contended there's a good chance it actually was a live performance. Because
they went 7 minutes on a 5-minute song.
Because they do a 7-minute You Get, which then I explained to you what 8-minute Cape Cod means. And those, if you've seen 8-minute Cape Cod ever floating around the internet, that's a reference. It's a Time Crisis reference because they talk about jam bands a lot and how long versions of songs will be referred to as, hey, they did a 6-minute China Cat for if Grateful Dead plays China Cat Sunflower for 6 minutes.
It's a mess. We were discussing whether or not it was a live performance, mainly because DJ made a musical poster for New Radicals on All That, October 2nd, 1999.
Yes.
Which may not be the date because it may not have been live, but I can tell you that it was live because they went 7 minutes long, and either All That allows a lot of leash to their musical performances, or New Radicals was like, we're seizing the day here.
This is now a fresh point that was not made on the lost episode. Does that make the New Radicals live on All That concert poster more rare and more valuable if it actually wasn't October 2nd, 1999? Like Beanie Babies are like that.
Well, I don't think it makes it more rare because I don't think that the New Radicals on All That, October 1st, 2nd, whatever the date was, I don't think that poster exists.
I mean, I can promise you it doesn't because I made it. But I mean, I thought you were going to say that you don't think there's much value in that poster. I was going to say
there's a lot of value.
Tell that to you and me because we're printing it and putting it in the background of wherever we record when our ship comes in.
Right. We are in the process of establishing a new space, a new studio.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to go in there, but we're going to dress it up. And the only thing that we know for sure that is going in the studio is the
bootleg
October 2nd, 1999 New Radicals on All That poster created by DJ Bean.
Hell yeah. Should I sign it? At the bottom?
No, we should send it to Steven Horowitz, who can then send it to Gregg Alexander, who can sign it and be like, by the way, and write it like below his signature, right? By the way, we didn't record this on October 2nd, 1999. It was September 29th, 1999.
And we cover that part up with like a sticker that comes on albums, like featuring You Get What You Give. 7-minute You Get.
We slap a big ol' parental advisory sticker right over his message.
It's a very racy performance.
He says
on All That.
He says butts. We'll kick your butts.
He does. He cleans up. We'll kick your ass in with. We'll kick your butt. He does some cool in that performance on October 2nd, 1999 on All That. That man just used his voice, and I guess this is now us getting into the significance of New Radicals and how great that material was. Gregg Alexander used his voice as an instrument, and that is a cliche. People say all the time, "Oh, this person uses their voice as an instrument." But even the beginning, like the first few bars of "You Get What You Give," when the I think it's maybe there's like a little tambourine or a shaker coming in on like that dun 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 dun. There's the percussion starts to come in. He starts doing a little like cha cha. Like he used his voice as an instrument. The haze leading up to leading up to the verse. He's doing like a hey. There's no other way to say it. The man used his voice as an instrument. If we ever have Gregg Alexander on the podcast, which is a guaranteed impossibility, because he does not do a lot of
we
press.
discussed in the last episode. He is what one might call a recluse.
I would say, yeah, like music pop, like pop star recluse, where he disbanded the project New Radicals once it became popular, and
I would say like before they became popular.
Scratching the surface, one single out. Steven tells us it was once the day they were on tour, like middle of a tour, and he was like, "Okay, I don't like this. This isn't for me."
They released their first single, and it was like a perfect, brilliant song.
Yeah,
and then he was like, "All right, see ya."
And I'm
the old Costanza,
right? And I'm not hating or saying why I do that. I think that it's very admirable that someone was like, "Hey, this may be a lot of people's idea of success or what you strive for." Obviously, he's a musician, and his music was well received. That's obviously some level of success, but it wasn't the success he wanted or that made him feel right or whatever. So he said, "I'm going to do something else."
Right. And I think that like as hard as it is to like be a star musician, it honestly might be harder to like become a star musician and then immediately be like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it.
But you know what? Credit to him. We see athletes now retiring young.
Yeah.
More and more, just saying like, "Hey, this isn't what I need to be doing right now. I got to be doing something else," or for whatever. Who knows how human beings think? So, great admiration and respect for Gregg Alexander. And this has been a big week because I can't remember now if I said this on this one or the last recording. He performed the song "You Get What You Give" as part of Joe Biden's virtual parade, which the virtual parade was just an absolute...
It was a mess. It was a disaster.
But New Radicals came back up and people started to talk about New Radicals again. And
I hadn't thought about New Radicals in years.
We've never... You said on the last recording... We'd only discussed them once, and it was when we discussed our friend Wayne's defunct podcast, Sucks Butt, where they take a song that is either off-critiqued, mocked, whatever, and say, like, does this song have redeeming qualities? And it was the only time in podcast history they played a song and then retracted its submission because the song did not suck. The song was too good for it to be considered like
sucks.
It sucks, but it has this. They were like, "No, this is a great song," and it's one of the greatest songs ever. We discussed in the last episode. Maybe for Patreon people, if you want, I can never tell if people like when I gush over songs and get a little nerdy with why they're so good, but I might, for the Patreon people, make a short little video just explaining why I think it's such a good song. It's not like a why I think, like just like factually, like
why it is,
what it does that gives it its sound and why it has this feel that it has. It is. I didn't realize this till I really kind of got in there yesterday. I was listening to the song a bunch, and I was like thinking about the chords and the things it does and stuff, that I was like, holy smokes, this song is even 100 times smarter and better crafted than I thought. So maybe we'll do something on that. But
we discussed like a bunch of things that we love about this song.
Yes.
When we talked to Steven Horowitz, and one of the things that I said on the last episode that I did not say when listing the reasons for Steven Horowitz is like a big reason why I love this song is because it is like so inherently 90s to me, and like there's a lot of nostalgia that comes with it, but it's not just nostalgia because it's old. It just feels very 90s in like the lyrics. They obviously mention Beck, Marilyn Manson, Courtney Love. It hits you in the face with the 90s, but it also it does a really, really great job encapsulating like the feeling and like the positivity of the 90s. And maybe I have that like view. I have that rose tinted glasses view of the 90s because I was a kid and I was fucking like stupid and didn't realize that there was adult shit going on and that things sucked for a lot of people. But like for me, the 90s is just like a ton of happiness, and the New Radicals for me in that song just sort of like bottles that up and serves it to me. And then that being on all that, watching all of that together is just like 90s overload, and it makes me so happy.
That led us to, and I think it's great that this is like a recap episode.
Yes.
That led us to discuss sans joints, but very much a like a sharing a joint type of discussion. Was New Radicals on all that the last great moment in American pop culture history? And the discussion that was had was 1999, October 1999.
October 2nd, 1999,
To be specific, yeah. Very much ushering in a new age. Y2K's coming up. We've begun using the internet. It's becoming a part of our lives. And I think that the internet... Well, I don't know why I'm pronouncing the T so hard.
The internet.
The internet.
Interleague play.
The internet is a source of, obviously, a lot of good things, but it's a source of... rotting
your brain and poisoning your brain slowly.
Poison anxiety. I have a lot of internet anxiety. It just freaks me out. Social media freaks me out. Like thinking that like there's this thing that I check every day and everyone is there freaks me out. Now this is really sharing a joint thing, but like there's the life before the internet and life in the internet is just very, very different. Mm-hmm. And think of what the internet's brought us. It brought us, I think, without question, it brought us our last president.
Yeah.
Who used, think of how horribly the world we live in was used. And think of how all that we have and like these tools at our disposal have been used for evil. So
I think like for better or for worse, the internet, well, for better and for worse, the internet opens your bubble and it like opens your eyes to what is happening or like in spaces far beyond what you would normally experience or see.
It's a daunting, crazy experience. And before it had become so big and just the center of all of our lives, right on the brink of that, you've got this song that is full of hope, that is weightless, being performed in over 7 minutes for a studio audience.
Perhaps live.
Perhaps potentially live. For a studio audience of children who are so accepting of it and so riled up. I mean, they're kids. They probably had a couple of soda pops. The kids just fucking freak out that entire... That is 7 minutes of chaos from the kids. It is a... We got into a discussion about humanity and feel-good moments and how... Honestly, like feel-good moments are so rare these days. Real feel-good moments,
but not manufactured.
Candid feel-good moments are Leo pointing meme worthy because, like, when it's a feel-good moment, Leo pointing meme.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That is 7 minutes of feel-good moment. And who's to say? Did they know when they were taping that or performing it live that this is one of the last times this song's going to be played? Who knows? Maybe even that was the last time that song was played. We'd have to check. I don't know if there's like a archive of New Radical's set lists, but maybe
What's that
Live on
website?
All That was
What's that website that does
Setlist FM?
Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe Live on All That was The Last Waltz.
that would be
Where
incredible.
they're like, all right, we're getting everybody together, and instead of Dr. John and
if
Staples singers, it's going to be just going to be just us and a bunch of children who really fucking feel this song and are the future. We got into the discussion of, was the next president of the United States in that audience? We think maybe.
it's quite possible.
It's 1999.
Yeah.
Although who knows? Maybe it was taped. What if we found out that was like taped in 1994?
They just really had it in the can for a while.
Right, like Gregg Alexander is on, like working on like a previous. It's like the video. There's a video of Father John Misty, Josh Tillman, when he's in Fleet Foxes, just like playing in a cafe or something, and he's playing. He's got his Fleet Foxes hair, looks like a different human being, and he's playing The Ideal Husband, which would be on his second Father John
crazy.
Misty album, but it's just like a song he had. And he's sitting there playing it. Maybe Gregg Alexander. No, I don't think so, because I don't know if all that would want, because they were like, we don't know if this song's
Right.
going to be a hit.
Yeah,
do you
no.
have a record deal? What is this?
And all those kids would not be excited. They'd be like, what is going on?
All right, well, we can narrow down then. This was performed
So it was
somewhere
like
between
22 years ago, with like, we did the math, like 8 to 11-year-olds mostly. So there's like the early 30s.
their early 30s. So
They're not eligible to run for president yet.
got to
but
be 35. So maybe the next one, and we're going to send out a Darren Rovell call to, if anybody knows people who were at this taping, because that's like they grew up and they're people now. They're functioning members of society.
They're like around our age.
Yeah. I would love to talk to somebody who was in the audience for that performance and just say, like, hey, what did that performance mean to you? Do you think back on that performance and say, hey, because I think people would say, hey, one time I went to a taping of All That. Cool. You saw Repairman. You saw Earboy. You saw Good Burger. You saw Denberg yelling. We talk about that a little bit with Steven. You saw Danny Tamborelli?
Yep, he was on that.
You saw Danny Tamborelli. Was Danny Tamborelli Earboy?
I don't remember. I think he might have been. You know who else was on All That? Keenan Thompson.
You saw Keenan. Yeah.
Pierre Escargot.
That's right. You saw a cool show. You went to a taping. That's cool. But to say that you were at New Radicals Live on All That, October 2nd, 1999, I bet that was I bet that people who were at that taping would tell you the best part was the musical guest.
2 requests if you happen to be at that taping on October 2nd, 1999. Number 1, come on the podcast so we can talk to you about it. Number 2, I'm guessing that they have some sort of ticket stub that got you in the building for that taping.
We'll need proof, yes.
Send us no, we don't want to see the proof. Send us the proof, because we are going to put it in a glass case with the October 2nd, 1999 New Radicals on All That poster.
That would be incredible. Hell yeah.
But if it says a different date other than October 2nd, 1999, please alter the ticket stub.
Well, yeah, what if someone's like, hey, this might be a misprint. October 2nd is right, but this says 1994. You're like, oh, I knew it. So I think that there's definitely a lot of stuff that we
talked about
missed.
Biden's inauguration and how weird it was, like just how awkward.
The parade.
Just the parade. The parade was fucking weird, man. Like, it's just a lot of slow driving, a lot of walking. Like the limo walking. I mean, driving slow enough that there were people walking next to it.
Yeah.
It was the least parade that has ever existed.
And I feel bad for the host of it, Tony Goldwyn. He's in the studio and he's like, "Hi, I'm Tony Goldwyn. I said this on the last one. I'm not hating here, but he's like, "Hi, I'm Tony Goldwyn. I may have played a president, but blah blah blah." I'm like looking around. I was in my apartment by myself, but I was like, "Do we know who this guy is? I may have played a president." Were you playing?
Never seen that guy in my life.
I IMDb'd him. We have seen him in our lives because he was in the Belko experiment.
Well, Was there a president in the Belko experiment? Did he play there was president of the company.
Oh, what if that's what it was?
Imagine if that guy, big balls, Tony Goldwyn, is like, I've played a president of the Belko company.
What if
in the 2018 film The Belko Experiment?
What if he constantly references like, hey, like he's golfing with his friends or whatever, and they're like, oh man, I'm gonna be a father. I got a little one on the way. He's like, whoa. That seems like a lot of responsibility. Man, when we were doing Belko and I had to get into the mind of a president, I thought about responsibility, and they're like, oh, Tony, everything with him is about playing the president in the Belko experiment. Oh, this guy, he's just so obsessed with the fact that he played the president in the Belko experiment. It was a weird parade. They did the
very weird.
They tossed to a DJ who played Sing a Song by Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then brought in Verdine White to play bass along to it over the track, and the DJ was talking the whole time. It was a real weird mess. They had the Bucks mascot.
Yeah, the Bucks mascot was doing the Love Actually thing where he's just holding cards and like saying shit, and it was the least transparent virtual parade that I've ever seen, because, like, first of all, they said that the New Radicals were playing Biden's inauguration, which Biden's inauguration began at 11 a.m., which I thought meant that we would be talking about the New Radicals playing Biden's inauguration by 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Turns out the virtual parade started at 3:15 p.m., and it just kept going and going and going. There was no mention of the New Radicals, no mention of anything. There was no schedule ever presented, and they just kept doing all this weird shit and never mentioning the New Radicals. And then, like, it was like 5:30 p.m. and we're like, yo, we got to record.
Yeah, what does the New Radicals live on Joe Biden's inauguration virtual parade concert poster look like? Does it say like January 20th, 2021?
Between 3 and 9 p.m.
Cable company hours.
I want to see. You know what we should? You know what we should make? We should make like a Lollapalooza style poster where we have like the entire lineup with like a bunch of different size fonts, and we just list all the weird shit that they did during that parade.
Yes,
and it'll be like the biggest, thickest font at the very top will be Tony Goldwyn talking about himself being president on Belko Experiment. And then like 40 lines down.
Rise Up.
Yes.
Rise Up, which we agreed on this.
The 45th performance of Rise Up. Yeah.
Right. The 3 millionth performance of Rise Up, which I never really paid attention to that song, but I did because I was waiting for New Radicals yesterday. That is such a boring song.
It is. And it loses its luster when you play it for the 45th time with like it trying to be like this inspirational song. It's like, oh, we did this the last time.
Right. You want real inspiration? You wait 22 years between performances. You do a seminal performance on all that, and then you wait for the inauguration, which shout out Beau Biden. The connection that New Radicals had to Joe Biden was his son Beau's favorite song was You Get What You Give, and they read lyrics from that song at his funeral. So massive respect to Beau, because there's two types of people in this world. Those who know You Get What You Give is one of the greatest songs ever, and those who just haven't really considered that You Get What You Give is one of the greatest songs ever. Because I think
a lot of people throw You Get What You Give into like this pot of 90s songs that are
90s songs.
Yeah, like
Sex and Candy.
You're right. Yeah, I'm putting together a 90s playlist. Of course this song has to go on there. This song is a real good 90s song, but like not giving it the respect that it deserves as like, yo, listen to the song now,
right,
and strip the nostalgia from it. That song is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. It is such a brilliant song, and Gregg Alexander went on to have a great career. Of course, I feel like at some point we've brought up that he wrote The Game of Love.
We've brought that up, or
Because
you have brought that up.
You probably brought up
many
Michelle
times.
Branch.
Yeah, and I did know. I knew very little about Gregg Alexander and the New Radicals, other than number one power rankings of the things I know about the New Radicals. I knew "You Get What You Give" is one of the best songs of all time, and number two on the power rankings is I knew that the lead singer of the New Radicals wrote "The Game of Love" by Santana and Michelle Branch.
Hell yeah.
And that absolutely came from you, because nobody else would tell me that.
Should I, they say certain things inspire you to keep going, certain things inspire you to quit, like with their greatness. I don't know if they say that, but...
That makes sense.
Yeah. I saw a thing, this is going to be way too specific. I saw a video, Wolfpack posted a video of Nate Smith, who's this incredible drummer, drumming, and it said, like, drummers, does this inspire you to drum, or does it inspire you to quit?
Because you'll never be as good.
Right, and I think about that a lot, because I feel like I get that with certain things, where someone is so good at something that you're like, that should be the only person who's allowed to do that.
Yeah, I get that with writing a lot, but it's never like I should quit. It's just like, man, I have to realize that I'm not going to be the best writer that it exists. Like, I can think that I'm a good writer, but I have to recognize... Like, I've been humbled by this person. They are better than me. There are people that are better than me. I need to find a way that, like, makes me different, because at my core, I'm never going to be as good as this.
Oh, yeah. And you have the right mindset. I was that way, too, where I was, like, certain... Like, the one I thought about was Jackie McMullen. Like, I will... No matter what I do, I will never be that, which is... just the absolute tops at the gold standard for everything she writes tells you so much stuff you didn't know. And it's because she's such a good reporter. She's such a good writer. Like, everything is unbelievably, like, I will nerd out reading a Jackie McMullen story the way I'll nerd out listening to You Get What You Give by New Radicals. Like, oh my God, I could hit pause and talk for 45 minutes about why that chord was... No one's just using that fucking chord, but they are, and because it's doing this, blah, blah, blah. Like, Jackie McMullen is that as a writer, and there's a million other writers who are also just so much better than I could ever be. But you're right. You have to lean into, like, what's going to make me a good writer is that it's me.
Like, whenever somebody asks me about, like, my advice, like college kids or whatever, high school kids, it's my biggest one. Well, number one is like, do it, because the hands-on experience is going to be more valuable than like going to class.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's true. But my other one is like, you have to know, like, who you want to be, but, like, don't try to be that person. You take what you like from these people, but recognize that, like, they might just be better at it than you. But, like, take the things that you like from a bunch of different people and realize where your strengths are and, like, where you can like, grow taking those things that you like.
Yeah. Gregg Alexander and New Radicals are the example, though, of that might inspire you to quit. Like, been working on the Vineyard Nights follow-up, extremely early stages, just compiling songs, writing songs, well, and I know that, like, there should be no expectation that, like, I'm going to write one of the greatest songs ever.
And like, but you also have to consider that, like, the case of the New Radicals is the most, like, bizarre. And
it's a very unique case.
Very unique. Like, this is a band that existed for, like, a second, made one of the best songs of all time, and disappeared for 22 years, and it was so good and, like, held such a place in time that 22 years later, we're devoting, like, an entire podcast episode about this guy and this one song.
It was... That song
it's insane.
tried its absolute best to hide.
Go away.
Right. It tried to hide and just disappear, be reclusive, and nobody can let that happen.
No.
They were like, this song means too much, and it's so great. And that's, again, not saying, like, I'm out here as a hobby rocker trying to make You Get What You Give by New Radicals. But like, just even try like
when people say they're like the common thing is like music lives forever, like I'll die or whatever, but music lives forever. It's like that is so it's become so true like in this moment right now because like nobody was trying to keep that song alive.
Yeah.
Nobody was trying to keep the New Radicals alive. Nobody's trying to keep You Get What You Give alive. That song just has lived on its own for 22 years.
And I hope the kids, other than ones who were at the October 2nd, 1999 taping of New Radicals Live on all that, I hope that like kids find ways to hear that song and that parents are playing it for them. I don't think that, I mean, it's not in commercials. It's not in movies and stuff, which
it's crazy. I saw
maybe Gregg Alexander has something to do with that because I would think that places should be doing syncs and like trying to get that song and stuff because it's an incredible song and it's a useful song.
Yeah, it's wild because I saw Dave Portnoy posted like a clip on Twitter yesterday about he was like talking about Dave Matthews Band and like the kid that he does the TikTok podcast with had literally never even heard of Dave Matthews, let alone heard a Dave Matthews song. So like that's fucking crazy to me. How do you go like with adult parents who probably know, like, how would you not hear a Dave Matthews song in passing?
Yeah, that is nuts. I'm always very defensive though of. Do you remember when Billie Eilish was on Jimmy Kimmel and they named a bunch of artists and they were like "What's your favorite Van Halen song?" And she was like, "I don't know if I know Van Halen." I was like, "Oh, what a fucking loser! You don't know." Like, it seems inconceivable that,
but that's like how
Van
long
Halen's
ago?
A lot older. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Dave Matthews shocks me more that a kid would not know.
You're not far enough removed from Dave Matthews, especially as like a young kid when like so much of Dave Matthews' audience is young people.
But I mean, what Dave Matthews Band song would they know? If
Ants Marching
probably be number one, but Crash Into Me was the one that was really put him on like our radar as a kid, and I would guarantee that a kid wouldn't know that song.
Yeah, I don't know the last time that I've heard like Crash in the Wild.
Crazy.
But Ants Marching is like, you know that song from the second that it comes in. Like, even if you heard 5 seconds of that song,
oh yeah,
you would be like, oh, I've heard this song before.
That's nuts. Do you know what? There's a bitchin' cover of, there's a video of Dave Matthews Band playing Rocky Mountain Way by Joe Walsh. You know that song?
Yeah, yeah.
Great song. Just a real rocker.
Yep.
Not the type of thing that you think Dave Matthews Band would be playing, but he's playing it.
Really?
And I think he's got a cigarette going. I think this is one of my favorite moves in rock, and it's very cliche, but I think he's got a cigarette in the headstock of the guitar. You know when
way.
You know when they do that?
Yeah.
When they stick a cigarette in the headstock?
Keep that baby burning.
Just keep it warm.
Yeah.
Say I'm going to need it in a sec.
That
got to pay some bills for
so I can afford my cigarettes.
Right.
Am I crazy? I remember when I was a kid, I remember like I don't know why this stuck with me, but there was a story about Dave Matthews Band dumping shit from their tour bus over the side of a bridge, and it like landed on like a boat, like a ferry maybe.
I think that Dave Matthews Band did some unethical weird thing.
I don't know if it was like, did they do it on purpose?
I don't know.
I want to look up this story because like for some reason that story has stuck with me forever. Like, it's just one of the first things that I think of when I think of Dave Matthews. Maybe he was sued for a while. Fourth result on Google when I type in Dave Matthews Band. Dave Matthews Band poop bus.
Well, damn.
Yeah. I was going to say, I thought it was Chicago, and it certainly was Chicago. Let loose over the...
You know what we're doing right now? We're doing the Twitter thing of Dave. A young TikTok star did not know who Dave Matthews Band was, leading some to resurface Dave Matthews' past transgressions.
Yeah, so they dumped human waste on a tour boat in the Chicago River. This doesn't seem right. It says direct hit from almost 800 pounds.
What?
800 pounds of shit? That seems like too much shit.
I don't know. How big is the bus? I was going to say, like, I'm not good with that sort of stuff, but, like, who knows about any of that?
800 pounds just seems like so much. But I guess if, like, it's a big tank or something.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Can I ask what year was this?
Yes, let me go ahead and... Oh, it was October 2nd.
No, see, that's why I'm asking. Let me guess. It was after October 2nd, 1999.
It was afterwards. Yeah, the world went to shit, literally.
So that's what I'm saying. That was the last moment of being...
It was 2004.
Gregg Alexander telling everybody, don't give up. You got a reason to live. Can't forget, we only get what we give.
Wow. The Chicago Tribune did 15 years ago today, a Dave Matthews Band tour bus dumped human waste on a tour boat in Chicago. Here's our original report. They just repurposed the report 15 years later. Just getting that sweet SEO, baby.
Wow. So, I can't remember what we said here and what we said in the last episode. What else didn't we get to? We said that we want to, we have surprisingly little pull in the podcast world. We were saying, like, we should consider ourselves titans of industry because we got a lot of mileage, but
we did a lot longer on Wayne's podcast.
On Sucks Butt, yeah.
And sorry to Wayne's podcast, which, much like Wayne's podcast, that podcast doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
We talked about and we pumped it up and how great it is, because that is a very good idea for podcasts. We also talked about what song we would nominate.
Oh, yes.
And I found out that you actually did have a guest appearance on Sucks Butt.
Yes.
And you chose a song.
I chose a David Foster produced number. She's a Beauty by The Tubes. A great song. And it ended up being a good submission because I was really excited about it. I was like, ooh, I think this song is too good. I think that they're going to say this doesn't qualify. And they were like, oh yeah, Eric said, I never need to hear that song again the rest of my life. That
devastating.
A little bit. But that's a great podcast, and I would love for it to come back. The issue is, I don't know if Wayne and Eric want to do it again. I hope they do, but it would have to be... Spotify does so many podcasts these days. They're bankrolling a lot of podcasts. I feel like Spotify or Apple Music would need to bankroll it so they can play the music without fear of getting a cease and desist or
DMCA.
Worse, getting sued. Because music is the song being played and them talking over it is obviously very critical to it. But great podcast. We talked about how, despite not being a music podcast, most of our friends and online friends are music people. Like, if we wanted, we could do a month of cool music guests, which we should do anyway. We should, like, we were saying, like, we got to have Houndmouth back on. Shane, Matt, Zach. Haven't talked to Zach in a while, but Shane, Matt, maybe one at a time. Maybe let's do
we should do like a newlywed game.
I was going to say we do a Houndmouth interrogation. We got to keep them separate. We do three episodes, the same episode, asking the three of them the same questions.
And see if they can get who's lying.
Yeah, see if they can get their story straight.
I like that. I like that idea.
I bet we could get all three of them to sing.
Yeah, I bet we could.
Get it?
I bet we could get all three of them to play each other's instruments too.
That's true. When you interrogate people, you're trying to get one of them to sing. Those guys sing.
Keep this idea on the shelf, and next time we go see the Houndmouth guys, we should do a video series, and we get them in a dark room with just a lamp, and we shine the lamp right in their face.
Yeah,
and we do the podcast idea.
Yeah, we mix in some, maybe like mean to them for whatever reason as we interrogate them.
Well, we gotta figure out a dynamic. There's got to be a bad cop, good cop dynamic.
Good cop, bad cop. Yeah, I don't know who would be the. I don't know. You know what? I think that I think our dynamic would be better suited for weird cop, weird cop. Like, you come in just doing some like off the wall stuff. Like, hey, this is really random. I don't know where this guy's coming from. Maybe this guy's a little crazy. I don't know what he's doing. Like, hey, Pete, get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. I come in. I do a stand-up routine about the exact movie that you were just talking about, and then they know, like, wait a second.
These guys are in cahoots.
There's no good cop here. What kind of weird world are we in? And then we keep them very disillusioned, and we get them to sing. We get them to sing real good. We get Shane doing Honey Slider. That's how much we're gonna get him to sing because he sings that song. We'll get him to sing. Watch your back, Houndmouth. What are we talking about?
Here's Steven Horowitz.
Joining us to discuss New Radicals is online friend, longtime journalist, and Gregg Alexander biographer, Steven Horowitz. I didn't write there the longtime music journalist because you've interviewed everybody, Mariah Carey, Gregg Alexander, you name it. First question, what's Father John Misty like?
I did meet him once, actually.
Yeah.
At a Billboard cover shoot that was with Brittany Howard and the guy Hosier. Oh, God, it's been so long since he's been in public concerts that I forgot his name. Anyways, kind of a weird guy. Keeps to himself. His wife was there. They only talked to each other. That was it.
Hell yeah. That sounds kind of fitting.
Yeah.
Did you touch him or shake his hand at all?
Yeah.
I did shake his hand because I did like on-camera interviews with all three of them separately. And I believe we shook hands. I still have like a glossy film on my hand still from it. It's because I touched greatness, you know?
Yeah. I mean, me and DJ have this common line of thinking that like we would never want to touch Father John Misty because he's just like this aura and not actually a human person.
Yeah, we can't make him real, you know?
You touch him, he like takes a part of your soul with him. So I walked away from that shit a little emptier that day, but it was worth it.
Cool. I think that's the goal with him. For those, so like people know New Radicals, I think like everyone knows You Get What You Give. Although I didn't realize it wasn't as big a hit as I thought it was. Like it wasn't a huge hit in the United States. I guess it was just like the music video and We'll Kick Your Asses, which actually isn't even the lyric. I also recently learned it's Kick Your Ass In. But like there were things about New Radicals when they happened, which is a very brief time that people remembered. So when they came up this weekend, they were performing at the Biden thing. People were like, oh, that band. And people were either really excited because they knew they were more significant than just the moment in time that they were. And then other people were like, who the hell are they? So for people who maybe only have seen them in their October 2nd, 1999 performance on All That, what is the significance, Steven, of New Radicals?
I think you're the Gregg Alexander super fan because I did not know they were on All That.
It's must see. I'll send it to you right after.
Wow. Okay. The significance of the New Radicals. Well, you know, they started as a band that sort of sprung out, I guess you could say, after Gregg sort of had these two failed solo albums. And he was living in Michigan. He moved to LA and he just basically had like a wheelhouse of friends that he just started making music with. It basically, like he told me, it was New Radicals was a solo project. So it was kind of like a rotating cast of members. I guess you could say the only other permanent member is Danielle Brisbois, who some of you might know. I think she was a child actress on All in the Family. But she went on to be his longtime collaborator. Regardless, New Radicals came out with their album Maybe You've Been Brainwashed 2. That was in October of 1998. As you said, You Get What You Give was not as huge of a hit as people remember. It, I think, peaked at number 36 on the Hot 100 then, which is actually quite low if you think about it. But to my recollection, watching TRL as a kid, that was always in the top 10. That was a big hit on MTV. So I think that's where the sort of dissonance occurs with their popularity. But what happened was they put out the album and the song takes off and they start going on tour. And Gregg just decides, I don't want to do this anymore. Just pulls the plug halfway through the tour. They had another single lined up called Someday You'll Know. And they shot a video for it. It never officially came out. It's sort of floating around on YouTube. But after that, Gregg was just disillusioned with the music industry. He didn't want anything to do with the spotlight. He told me that he was becoming the the bonus for all these music industry executives, like year end, and he didn't like to see himself as a dollar sign. So he basically went out of the spotlight, became a solo songwriter, and he ended up writing huge, massive hits that you wouldn't know, like Santana Michelle Branch's The Game of Love.
Oh, yeah.
And overseas, he had huge success too with Sophie Ellis-Bextor's Murder on the Dance Floor and Ronan Keating's Life is a Roller Coaster. And, he's worked with everyone from like Enrique Iglesias to Hanson at one point, who he bemoans on You Get What You Give. And he's had a really long career. I guess you could say he has retreated from the spotlight a lot after he's found success because he keeps getting disillusioned. And then in 2014, he came back to soundtrack the film Begin Again. And he was nominated for an Oscar with that for Lost Stars, which is an incredible song. And that was sung by Adam Levine. But if you go on YouTube, you can see Gregg performing it during the run-up to the Oscars that year. And he lost, but, it is what it is. And from there, he kind of does songwriting a bit these days. He most recently worked with Kaiser Chiefs on a song, and the Struts as well, Put Your Money on Me, which is like a very, very good song.
I didn't know that the Struts, and I was such an old guy about this. I didn't know the Struts don't write their shit. And that's such a stupid old rock guy thing. Like, I always give rock people shit when they're like, Beyonce doesn't write her songs. I'm like, well, fucking Father John Misty does. Like, get off her. Like, great people are writing it, and they're making good. Like, whenever people point to the, like, oh, Freddie Mercury wrote Bohemian Rhapsody all by himself. I'm like, cool, that's a great song. Songs written by other people are great songs. Shut the hell up. But I did learn recently that Gregg Alexander is among the many who have written the Struts music for them. And I was like, man, as a rock guy, I kind of feel like a dick because I'm judging them a little bit. That's on me, though. That's stupid.
Yeah, well, the Struts are in a league of their own, I guess you can say. They're like, they're like you could say like the Milli Vanilli of our time, except they play their own instruments and sing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that a horrible comparison?
Man.
And they're super fun. Like they go, they you want to talk about Freddie Mercury? They go out and they act like Queen and like fuck yeah. There does seem to be a bit of a very very low level Greta Van Fleet going on with them, where they're like, we know what you want.
Yeah,
we can kind of do it, so we're gonna do it.
Now I'm just like, it's supposed to be a new Radical segment, but now all I can think about is the Struts. Remember that time we saw the Struts live and we were like, yo, this band fucking rules.
Absolutely.
These guys are a party.
They did one of the 300, it was at a music festival, and they were one of, I think we were like doing a drinking game of like, do whatever every time a band says, okay, we want everyone to get really, really low. Everyone get low, as low to the ground as you can. And when we say everybody get up, because every band was doing that, and we were like, it must look really cool from the stage to see everybody do this, because every band we have seen so far has asked us to do that. And the Struts, of course, did that. But yeah, like, and that's a great album for a band that only put out one album. That is a great album, and something that I don't think would. I'm going to be an old rock guy again. Like that just wouldn't happen today. Like pop rock that's piano driven, but like there's guitars, there's a little like bit of he's big into nonsense, I would say. A lot of his songs just have general nonsense going on where he's not really necessarily saying words. Like there's a lot of shit happening that I just feel like wouldn't happen right now. So I hope that album has stood the test of time for people, because like I went back and listened to it today. It's great.
I also did. And I will say that I would also just like quit my band and quit music and fame if I wrote You Get What You Give and it peaked at 36. Like I would just be like, nah, this isn't for me. Fuck this.
That is a brilliant song. I give Taylor Swift's I Know Places and Katy Perry's Teenage Dream a lot of credit for never really playing the one chord, like the kind of home base of the song. And I was listening to You Get What You Give today, and I was like, oh shit, this doesn't do it either. It just kind of keeps you like, well, in fact, the only time that it really does play that chord is when he says don't let go in the chorus, which I think is kind of fitting, because you spend the whole song like not really grounded to it, and then the beginning of the chorus, you get it for just a little second. It's a fucking brilliant song, and that's a good transition, because Pete and I were texting yesterday about You Get What You Give, and he was saying like all that performance is 7 minutes long. Wow. Like they open it up on All That. They just fucking jam it out on All That. Power move. And then he was like, and especially that song, how you playing it for 7 minutes? And we were like, well, how long actually is it? Because there are kind of a lot of parts to it. It kind of just like hangs out for like 30 seconds and then they count in, which normally happens before. Yeah, I don't know, like you hit record, then you count in, then you play. So it's a 5-minute song. There's a lot of fucking things happening in that song. So we are going to do our top 5 favorite parts of You Get What You Give. And part can be anything. It can be this part of the song. It can be this lyric. It can be whatever. So
I also tweeted out yesterday the All That performance, and Roger Sherman tweeted back at me. He was like, All That had like stacked musical performances.
Definitely.
And like part of the reason for that might be that they just were like, take as much time as you need to perform whatever song you want.
Yeah.
You get a 5-minute song, you just tack on 2 minutes, go for it.
Didn't New Radical, like I think New Radicals cut off half of the first verse for the Joe Biden thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like All That is the opposite of the Biden parade. They're like, you don't have to edit. In fact, you know what? Jam it
Add
up
some bullshit.
Yeah, just like we know the perfect band to kind of like add some weird extra stuff to their song. New Radicals.
I think for All That, like they probably were like, yeah, take as much time as you need, because that like saves us 2 minutes of having to fill with a new sketch. Like it probably worked to their benefit.
We would like to not ask these 16-year-olds to write another sketch for this show, so please take as much time as you need.
We've already got 4 Repairman sketches in this episode. We could do a second Ear Boy, but I don't know. They've stopped laughing at Ear Boy. I think once they figured it out that it's a guy with big ears, I think that the mystique is gone with Ear Boy. I guess another episode we could just do top 5 All That sketches, but I think it legitimately would just be like Good Burger, Ear Boy, Repairman, Lori Beth Denberg screaming in the library, and that honestly may have been it. Who wants to start? Steven, give us one of your top 5 favorite parts of New Radicals. You Get What You Give.
Sure. It's weird because that's a song I've listened to like probably hundreds of times, and I never sat with it to be like, I wonder what like hits me the hardest. So I went back and listened a few times this morning, and there's this one part where there's like, it's just instrumental. It's like halfway through the song, maybe 2 minutes and 38 seconds in, where Gregg just lets out this huge yelp, and I'll reenact it for you. He's like, ow! And there's like a guitar that's just below where he's singing, and it sort of leads him in. And then the guitar is strumming. I mean, you could probably, I don't know if you can edit this to cut it in, but it's an amazing moment. And what's amazing about it to me is that it's like the song is sort of always edging towards this grand explosion that you're waiting for. Like you were talking about before.
Yeah, and it never gets there.
It never centers on the chord that you're expecting it to hit. And so to substitute or overcompensate for that, there's this one moment where Gregg like lets up this yelp, and it sort of dovetails with the electric guitar also making the same noise, and they sort of become indistinguishable at a certain point. And it feels like this really grand release in the middle of the song. So that to me this morning was what stuck out to me.
Oh, I know exactly what. Wait, it's after the second chorus?
Yes.
Yes.
Like right after the second chorus.
I would like to go ahead and show you my notes. And my number 1 is just the ow.
Whoa. Wow.
The ow.
Exactly.
Incredible.
Hey.
Pete, what's your number 5? And these can be in no particular order. But
my number 5 is literally just that I'm listening to You Get What You Give. That's my favorite part of the song, because it's impossible to listen to that song and not be happy.
Dude, I don't know if I'm going to make it one of my top 5, but one of mine is just that like someone's letting you know you got the music in you. I like that. I like being reminded
every now and then.
Every now and then, I think someone needs to know. And like that performance, I feel like now if it happened, people would be weird and they'd take it out of context. But like he's in like this sea of children. He goes into the audience and he's like pointing at different kids. He's like, oh, I feel the music in you. I feel the music in you. And like, it's just great. He's just like going around to these kids. And now it sounds like weird as I say it, but like, just say like you got the music and you got the music. I was like, dude, they so have the music. You're right.
Also, the visual of just like somebody going into the crowd, an adult man going into like a sea of children and just standing there while they all like, they're just rocking out around him while he just sings his part in the song is so funny and like so pure.
And that is some like Beatles at Shea Stadium vibes. I don't know if they like turned up the audience mics. Like, Steven, I can't wait till you watch this. These kids are fucking freaking out like I have never freaked out at a concert in my life.
It is very cool because like there are times like you watch the Super Bowl or like Super Bowl halftime show or whatever, and they go out there
to jump up and down.
Right. There's like at one point in the All That video where like there's a girl standing next to this guy. And she is legitimately smitten. She is just having the time of her life. It is the best.
Okay, I think for mine, you know what? I'm gonna put. You got the music in you, Steven. Let's get another one.
Oh boy, I guess this is more contextual, but when he does the part that everybody ran away with, the part where he name checks all the celebrities and sort of bemoans their success.
The Eminem verse.
I think just contextually that to me stands out as one of the best parts of it, not because he's like rapping in your face, but more because it's literally the exact critique that Gregg was making on pop culture at large, that if you just toss a bunch of celebrity names into a song, that's what people are going to focus on. And if you listen to the rest of the song, it's actually a very political song. He's talking about, capitalist society and big bankers and all this shit. And then all of a sudden he just tosses in a bunch of barbs at these random people. And I mean, I think that's really brilliant. Like he played exactly to what he knew was going to be the takeaway. And he sort of couched it in this grand political song that you don't really realize is one until you sort of look at the lyrics.
You're so right, because I do remember the takeaway, other than like that will kick your ass in part really didn't do the song huge favors, because that section, you're right, was all that people talked about. And I think people thought like will kick your ass was a little corny. So they were like, okay, like maybe like we just write these guys off. But what they were talking about lyric wise with that song, other than that line, was they were like, why is he throwing Beck in there? Like, what's he like? What's the dig at Beck? And you're right, like that is amid him like talking about the FDA and like all these different things. And of course, everyone's like, you said Marilyn Manson though. Let's get into that a little bit. Pete, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is it's 5 minutes long, but doesn't feel a second too long.
Yes. I'm with that.
It's just like I was stunned that song was 5 minutes long, but also I've never once thought about how long that song is, because I've never been like, when is the song over?
So my 4 is also going to be similar to yours. Loitering in the beginning of the song. I don't know if is he saying "your light" or like "yo light"? He said there's like the little intro, and he's just kind of hanging out, just kind of like moaning, making some sounds, and then eventually there's the big 1, 2, 3 ow that everybody loves. But he just kind of hangs out in the beginning of that song for a little bit, which is kind of similar to Mother We Just Can't Get Enough, which is
right. Make my nipples
splendid
hard.
Song. Right. just like warming you up a little bit.
I was going to say, like, they're big on weird intros. The Make My Nipples Hard of Mother We Just Can't Get Enough is very funny still.
Hell yeah. Steven, number 3.
Oh man, I'm sort of doing this on the fly, but
you can just say like, "Shut up, this game is stupid." You guys do.
No, I love this. Listen, I could sit here and pick like 30 things about that song that I love. I think, sort of to piggyback off of what you were talking about, the intro, I like it not just because he's sort of like floating and moaning with all these weird amorphous noises, but what I like is the first notes of the song that you hear, the instrumentation. I think it's such a great way to lead you into such a free and elastic song where it's like dun 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 dun, dun, and there's this weird chopping that happens with the synth where it just cuts off and it feels very precise, and then it has the it feels like almost like a fantasy leading into the song, and I think it sort of sets the tone in this really strange and sort of beautiful way. So yeah.
I've always I mean I was just talking about that part a few seconds ago, and I kind of was a coward and skipped saying specifically what I thought it was, because I like actually don't know what that is. Like you're right, it's probably a synth or something, but I'm like, is that like maybe harpsichord or like when you do like on a keyboard when you do the like electric guitar setting, and it's like this horrible kind of like fake sounding steel type of sound, like that part is awesome. It's like you're right, it's like very bouncy but very tight, and that's why, getting back to what you were saying earlier, like the explosion of when the piano comes in is amazing, because you're kind of kept with this like tight sort of thing, and then you get the 1 2 3, and again your brain is thinking, okay, we're finally going to hear I think the song's in D, we're finally going to hear a D, and you don't hear that, but you're getting piano and you're getting like this big festival. It's kind of letting you know like this is where the fucking song is.
Your description of this song is just like very sexual.
You think you're
bouncy and tight, and there's the D.
You're waiting for the D.
Wait for the explosion, and then you're there.
Yep.
Wow.
Very sexual.
Song keeps you waiting for the D, and it only gives it to you in passing. Pete, number 3.
The fact that the lyrics throw in frenemies, which I don't think enough songs in music
early use
do.
of frenemy, yeah.
So I think that's very underrated.
Okay, I think here's where we get to like the big dogs. I think I'm going to go with the pre-chorus features the patented Gregg Alexander high note. The patented Gregg Alexander pre-chorus high note, I should say. When Game of Love came out, that was, I think, the first time and I'd have to check if Wikipedia was around there, but I do think that was the first time I heard a song said, I bet this other person wrote it, and looked it up and saw it was written by that guy, because the pre-chorus of Game of Love is so much like the pre-chorus of You Get What You Give that it had to be Gregg, and it fucking was. So I'm going to go with the patented Gregg Alexander pre-chorus high note. Number 2, Steven, very impressive that you've made it this far, just going off the fly.
I could wing it all day, my friend. Number 2, mine are not in any particular order, by the way. This is just sort of like...
As they come to you.
Yeah, you guys can rank them. I'm more like a free spirit. So I would say... I'm kind of cheating a little bit, because when I interviewed Gregg for the 20-year anniversary of this album, we talked a lot about You Get What You Give, and something that he told me that went into the construction of the song was that he wrote the song as an exercise. So what he would do is he would write one line, and then he would try to top it with the next line, and all of it was derived specifically from the experiences he had. And the Billboard profile I wrote of him, I touch on a few of them, and one of them is like 4 a.m. we ran a miracle mile. Like, him and his friends did that, and we're flat broke, but hey, we do it in style. Like, he was couch surfing all over LA, and I love how autobiographical the song is, even though when you listen to it, it really doesn't feel like an autobiographical song in a way.
Yeah.
Like, he puts a lot of himself into the song, and yet the song sort of has this remove where, unless you're listening very closely, you kind of can't really get it.
It really does like seem incoherent. Like, yeah. On the surface, that song seems incoherent.
It's kind of like it's kind of like we didn't start the fire. I was going to say We Are the World. It's as good as We Are the World. It's kind of like We Didn't Start the Fire, as far as like, it always hit me as some like kind of vague commentary on kids these days, you know? And I guess it was, if he was being autobiographical, but you're right. It surprises me to learn that he was talking about real life experiences, because it just kind of sounds like, I don't know.
It sounds like you write a bunch of things down, and then you throw them in a pot, and you kind of like pick them out at random.
Right. Like what's the Big Star song that's the theme to that 70s show? It's kind of like that, like Drive Your Mom's Car, like man, I wish we had a joint. Like it just kind of sounds like one of those songs, which is just vague, youngish people. This is what we do. So good for Gregg Alexander, actually living the life of those lyrics. Pete, number 2.
Number 2 is basic, but it's the countdown at the very beginning.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, the count is. I mean, there's no off the top of my head. There's not a song that like gets me more hyped to like listen to that song than the count-in for "You Get What You Give."
Yeah, shit. So that was going to be my number 2 or my number 1, but all of mine have been basically the same thing as what Pete just said. So I won't make that my number 2. I will make my number 2. It's a cousin of 1, 2, 3. Ow. Give it to me now.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Hell yeah.
Great part. That was autobiographical as well. I wish that was your follow-up question. You're like,
so what does this have to do?
So, give it to me now. That happened to you? Number 1. Again, Steven's a free spirit, so no pressure on this number 1.
Oh boy. I mean, I thought we were starting with our favorite moment, so the Yelp is definitely my favorite moment.
Okay, we'll switch that. We'll put that number 1 for you. No problem.
Cool. Thank you.
New number 5 now.
I guess number 5. I mean, I'll cheat a little bit too on this one, but the video, just takes the song to another level. It's I don't know if you guys have watched it in a while.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
It's fucking like when I think of like 90s music videos, and this was obviously 98, so it was like right at the end of the 90s, but that is an iconic shot. The band playing on the second floor, I think, of the mall. It's set in a mall, and they're just like throwing nets on like old people in suits, and it's just like a bunch of kids like hanging out, running around the mall, having a party. But there's a bandstand on the first level, which is where like most of the band footage for that is shot. But there are all these shots throughout it of the band playing on the second level, but it's shot from like the very, very, very ground. And that shot up of the band playing and him just kind of like dancing and grooving the way only he can, iconic.
I'm so glad that he wore the bucket hat for the Biden thing. Like, I did not expect that. Yeah, I thought there's some growth. There's some growth that happened, obviously, but like still into the bucket hat.
Yeah, these days Gregg pretty much wears a baseball cap. Ooh. And I've seen Gregg a few times in the past few years, and he's always wearing his baseball cap. But in the performances starting in 2014, for when Begin Again was doing its Oscar run, he always was wearing the bucket hat or the baseball cap, excuse me. And I was talking with a friend before this Biden performance, and I was like, "There's no way he's gonna wear the bucket hat. Like that dude is so over it." And there you have it. So
yeah,
I mean that's like the iconic look.
I would have guessed that he would come to resent it. We asked we had Tom Everett Scott on the show, and we asked him if he is hesitant to wear Ray-Bans because that was his look in That Thing You Do.
Of course.
And he was like, no, not again. I think he said he was like mainly an Aviators guy, but he was like, he's not, I don't know. He like very much embraces all the craziness that came with That Thing You Do, where I feel like Gregg Alexander would be, I mean, clearly given that he disbanded a successful project, probably, and this is not an insult. It commonly is, but I hate that it is. I think that he's probably generally like a malcontent, right? Like he probably doesn't want to be known for doing the same thing or for, I don't know, like some bucket hat company to make money off of like, this is the Gregg Alexander look. And he's probably like, fuck you, let me live. So surprised that he would bring that back. Pete, you're number 1.
I already spoiled it a bit earlier, but it's the owl. It's the owl. It's my number 1 note, my number 1 favorite thing. It just you're waiting for it. So
wow. So this is first in top 5 list.
Unanimous?
Yeah. We have 2 of the same number 1s. My number 1, I think, will be the 1, 2, 3 owl. also making it the first time in show history that all 3 number ones have been some type of ow, but not the same ow. So you guys have the 238 ow. I've got the 123 ow that comes after the intro, which honestly, if you told me that ow after the intro was 238 into the song, I would believe you, because you know how New Radicals can be. They'll just open it up on a moment's notice and jam out. They'll jam out an intro for a few minutes before counting in the song. Steven, this has been an absolute blast. I hope that I know, I mean, you've enlightened me on things about New Radicals and Gregg Alexander. I consider myself a fan of this band, but if there were a book put out, which I suppose you would probably write, I bet I would learn a lot of new things. So for the people who are fans but know there's more for them to learn, I thank you. We thank you for coming on.
Hey, Gregg and New Alexanders are my favorite topics to just opine about, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, thank you to Steven. That was a good countdown. That was a good top 5.
It was a good countdown. Apologies for the audio. Not the best audio, but
yeah, I was getting a alert on my end because we had to record that remotely. I was getting an alert that was like, system blah blah, connections between the three of you, audio is not awesome, but it's listenable.
Listen, what do you want from us?
Yeah,
we lost a full episode.
Yeah, a little respect here.
At least we kept that one.
Yeah, so any more New Radicals talk questions you have, the brunch account is the brunch Twitter account for the last couple of days at least has been pretty heavily New Radicals, so interact, do whatever you want. I asked you the other day if you've watched Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. On Showtime.
No, yes. I said, are you going to watch Your Honor?
You did say, are you going to watch Your Honor? And I gave you the old sassy, if you mean gonna, that I have been the entire time since its premiere day. Yes. I was
and then I doubled down. I was like,
are you going to do it?
I'm asking if you're going to. So when it's on again, are you going to watch it? That's all.
Yeah, I was high on that show for quite a while, and then all of a sudden it was just here. And yeah, I think that I've seen it pick up some steam.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to it's gaining a buzz.
Bryan Cranston plays a judge. Son commits a hit and run, and they decide to cover it up, and there's consequences. I started watching it this past week. I knew it was coming out. I saw previews for it, and I just never thought to watch it. And I was like, oh, there's 7 episodes. Banged out all 7. The show is... I don't know how good it is.
So I feel
I like watching it. I don't know how good it is.
I have a lot of the same feelings towards it as I did with the Nicole Kidman show. What's that?
Yeah, The Undoing.
The Undoing. Yeah. I think like I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to it every week. I know that it's not perfect, and I think that Your Honor is significantly more imperfect than The Undoing was. But like it's not bad. I would say that parts of it are ridiculous.
It is an absurd show. It is. I liken it to an episode of South Park where one of them does one thing. And again, a bad thing is done, but one of them does a bad thing, and within 3 scenes, houses are blowing up, and all these like crazy things, like
people are acting
dead,
ridiculously,
like, just everything happening so fast and so crazy. And for a show that basically asks Bryan Cranston to reprise Walter White in a lot of ways, it is so the opposite. Pace-wise of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad is the ultimate, or I would say second ultimate, not necessarily penultimate, because that's more linear. But Better Call Saul, I think, is the ultimate slow burn, and Breaking Bad is behind that. This is everything all at once, so fast.
Yeah, it's like an
so
Ozark
crazy
type deal where it's like, hey, you got ADHD. Well, let's hit you with it very, very, very quickly.
It's chaotic, but it does have, and I don't know, maybe I haven't seen enough of this guy's work. Very pleasantly surprised and excited to watch Gangster Stuhlbarg, because Michael Stuhlbarg, brunch favorite, is...
You haven't watched enough Stuhlbarg, I can already tell, because like my introduction to Stuhlbarg was Gangster Stuhlbarg.
Really?
Yeah. He was in Boardwalk Empire, and he was fantastic.
I'm so dumb. I watched Boardwalk Empire.
Really?
I watched season 1.
Oh, okay. Was he in season 1? He might have been. I think he probably was.
I gave up on Boardwalk Empire, even though
You shouldn't have done that.
I binged season 1. I was like,
really
great,
good
and
show.
then I didn't watch it anymore.
Really good show, and Stuhlbarg was fantastic in it. He plays like a very creepy Rothstein, I think was his character's name.
Okay.
He was the New York like mob guy. He drank a lot of milk.
Oh, interesting.
He was like a very measured, very calm, but like nasty mob boss.
So they kind of so he plays a mob boss in that movie. So that show, this series is just
like
asking people to play their hits.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, like when you're casting, they're like, it's not really any out of the box thinking in terms of casting. It's just like, we need this character. When have we seen somebody play a character like this? Let's get that guy.
The show. So the show, again, imperfect. I won't say it's not good.
It's
but
very dramatic to the point.
So dramatic
to the point where it kind of honestly feels like a parody of like the show that it's trying to make, because it is so ridiculous and like over the top.
Yeah,
with like, and just like the characters make the worst decisions, and a lot of the dialogue is a little rough.
Yeah, and so the last episode, Stuhlbarg, I thought gave his best performance of the series, and this won't spoil it. You haven't seen the last episode. He's talking to Michael, the Bryan Cranston's character, and he says to him, "You know what I hate? Georgia. Peaches, peach trees, peach this, peach that. Everything's got to be about peaches there. I hate it. But not as much as I hate people who don't keep their word."
What?
Like, what?
What the fuck?
And I was like, the whole episode, Stuhlbarg's great because he's Stuhlbarg, and Bryan Cranston's great because he's Bryan Cranston. It was like, who's writing this?
Right.
No offense.
Yeah, and I think the performances are pretty good. It's just like the writing is not amazing.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have a guest from Your Honor for this episode. We reached out, got pretty emphatically denied.
Got a borderline shut up.
Yeah, essentially. But you know, I one of the questions that like when we were thinking about possibly like this person might entertain the idea of coming on, one of the questions I wanted to ask was like, this show is very proud of being from New Orleans.
Oh yeah,
and I want to know how much they're actually getting right about New Orleans.
Oh yeah, I like to read those things. I do this with like the Shy and stuff. Like, what did they get right? What did they get wrong? And I refuse to think that the Shy gets like anything wrong.
But because like Lena wouldn't.
Right, exactly.
Lena wouldn't get it wrong.
Right. She's like I would say, a very passionately authentic storyteller.
Especially when it comes to
Chicago.
She's passionate about Chicago.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, I guess I could look into it myself and find out like what the connection to New Orleans is between like the showrunner and I don't know what that is, but this show seems very proud to be from New Orleans, but it's not like a overly romanticized portrayal of New Orleans. Like it, for better or for worse, it presents New Orleans. So I'm very interested into seeing what they get right and what they don't.
Showtime likes doing this. I would say putting Chet Hayes in shows because he's in this as well as Shameless. But I just binged Shameless, and Shameless does a lot of the family is called the Gallagher family. Maybe 4 times an episode, someone will say, "We're Gallaghers. Gallaghers pay our debts," or we're Gallaghers.
That's a Game of Thrones
we stick
thing.
together. Does Game of Thrones do that?
The Lannister always pays their debts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is Game of Thrones is HBO.
Yep.
But there's a lot of that thing of look,
Like, we're good
this.
for it.
We do this.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're
we
known for
hey,
being
look,
good for it.
Look, I'm a bean. Beans lose podcasts. Okay, you know, like shit like that.
You think I'll press play, or I'll press record, but I'm not going to. By the way, the podcast that we lost today was my fault.
I think I was very gracious because we both lost it.
Yeah, we did. Like, we did the
So
old
who
like
cares?
we did the old like, hey, we just finished recording for 45 minutes, and then you were like, hey, that light hasn't been on for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean,
We
generally,
vibed.
if I had someplace to be and like this like fucked with my schedule and everything,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh no, this is. But generally, I don't get very if someone makes a mistake, I generally, and I'm virtue signaling, I guess, right now, but I always feel so bad for someone when they make a mistake versus like, well, what the fuck did you do that for? Like, you didn't fucking mean to not press it. Like,
That's how I feel about like car accidents. Like the car accidents that I've ever been in, the person's like, oh my God. And I'm just like, well,
Yeah, like,
I know that you didn't get in
something
your
bad
car
happened,
being
yeah.
like, I'm going to crash my car today.
right. I'm totally with you. So on Your Honor, it does a lot
Speaking
of
of car
this
accidents.
they do it. Hey, this is New Orleans, man. Word gets around. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if that's a New Orleans quality. That's you just saying that, and everyone in the room is like, "That's right," because we're in New Orleans. It's a very absurd show. But yeah, Chet Hayes is in it. Chet Hayes is also in Shameless, and maybe he's not that bad an actor. I feel like he kind of
I don't know.
he always plays a dude.
They're asking the minimum of him, especially
Right.
in Your Honor. I've never seen Shameless, but like, yeah, I think I could do what he did in Shameless or in Your Honor.
Yeah, just kind of plays a guy who's
Yeah.
friends with the kid who's dealing drugs, and he just asks him questions like,
Big Yo House.
"You sure about that?
Yeah, right.
Hey, all right." Like he just kind of does that.
I know your dad did that thing.
Oh yeah,
Like, no, you didn't. No, you don't.
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Then
Yeah,
Stubar
sure.
comes over and he's like, "What are you guys talking about?" And all the actors at the table are like, "Whew, thank God, jeez, we were working up a sweat over here, asking all sorts of questions, doing all sorts of stuff." The show is absurd. One of the most absurd things about it, probably the most unrealistic thing about it, there's a scene where someone takes a candid photo of somebody else when the kid and Stuhlbarg's daughter are at the park, and the Stuhlbarg's daughter is sitting on a seesaw type thing, whatever, and just kind of like hanging out. And the kid takes out his camera, takes a picture, and I was like, kids these days don't do candids.
Nope.
No, all they're doing is thinking how they get from one picture to the next picture. They're not doing candids. That authentic moment, that doesn't really happen.
Although those are two very weird kids. So
That's true. I'm excited. It has 3 more episodes. Again, nothing will surprise me because it's just nothing but outrageous things happening one after another.
They worked in a very maybe this will age poorly, but they worked in a very unnecessary teacher sleeping with a kid.
I thought about that. I was like, why has every show we watch got this going on?
Very unnecessary, especially because they have not addressed it in like the past 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, that's
and the
just
kid
gone.
has just moved on to a new love interest.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Right. I don't know if they'll tie up all loose ends. I mean, all this show does is kill people. So maybe they'll continue to do that, but it's good enough to watch. You know the whole time. You'll say, "Oh, come on," a few times as you're watching it, but I look forward to seeing its conclusion. I've got the jumping off a treadmill sensation from watching 7 episodes in like 2 days, and I'm like, I got to wait until Sunday for another one. Oh boy! But it's worth watching, so keep doing that. Lastly, do you have anything else on Your Honor?
No.
Yeah, no further questions, Your Honor.
No further questions.
Oh boy! Last thing. We don't watch movies anymore. We're always watching miniseries.
Yep.
Thank God they're miniseries because movies keep getting pushed back. And enough of that. Stop pushing movies back. Just put the ones out. Spiral, the one with Chris Rock and Sam Jackson that was set in the Saw universe.
I did not know that
you
existed.
didn't know existed?
Yeah.
Was supposed to be out like last May.
That shows how out on movies that we are, because there was a Saw universe movie with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, and we haven't talked about it on the podcast.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I want to see that movie.
I'm very like now. I think we're starting to see like the movie. I think the movie theaters for a while were like, "What the fuck do we do? Oh, we'll like buy ourselves some time." By sending all our shitty movies straight to on demand, and people will be so desperate enough that they'll pay $20 to watch The Hunt.
Yeah.
And now I think they're like starting to put in contingency plans. Like we saw Warner Brothers is releasing all of their movies to HBO Max as well as in theaters. So I think we're going to start seeing more legitimate movies be released like on HBO Max and things like that. And obviously Netflix too. But like my big thing is like when this is over and when we get back to some normalcy, are we just going to have fucking like banger blockbuster movies released every single weekend for like 2 years?
Theoretically, you would think so, but like when they pushed Spiral back to May of 2021, and in doing that, they gave Spiral John Wick 4's spot and moved John Wick 4 to May of 2022. So it's not like they said, okay, look, we'll give Spiral May 21 and we'll give John Wick later in May of 21 or June of 21.
They're just like pushing back the entire schedule.
Everything back a year. I would much rather what you're talking about, just make it a freaking fiesta of nonstop.
But the reason why I was wondering that is because like I don't think that the studios would want to do that because they're sharing the screens with other bangers.
True. Yeah, I need these movies out. Put them up. I would pay $20 for Spiral. No questions asked.
Yeah, I mean, well, we talked about the idea of paying $100 for renting out a movie theater for ourselves and just like watching Mamma Mia, man, or something.
That would be such a good time. Do you know some gyms are doing that?
They're renting out the gym to like work out by yourself or like with a few people?
Yeah, I saw someone I know posted a thing of themselves at a gym, and I was like, what's the story there? And they were like, oh, because I was like, you must have some like VIP status there or something. And they were like, no, you can rent out this space for an hour and use it to exercise, which I'm like, oh, I'm such a piece of shit. I should be doing that. But
I've been thinking about like I should get back. I've been getting charged for the gym that I haven't been to in like 3 months. Yeah,
I'd have to check. I haven't looked at that, but I should do that because I'm not going to the gym.
No, me either.
I got to do something.
I got to do something.
Yeah, my plan was, so I had not to brag, I had a weight loss journey in 2020. I lost probably 15 to 20 pounds that I had gained in 2020.
There
so no
Broke
difference.
Yeah.
No difference.
Whatever, the number's still black.
Right.
Not in the red.
And then I started to, I've since started to put weight back on for out of boredom. And instead of doing the diet starts Monday thing, my plan was, a friend thought of this, like, diet should start Wednesday. New presidential term, new Deej. And I was like, yeah, I will do that. Haven't done that, though. So maybe diet starts Monday.
Thursday.
Yeah. I feel like people start a lot of diets like January 2nd, where they're like, oh, I'll be so hungover from New Year's, and then January 2nd I'll go.
Fresh start.
But I don't know. I'll start at some point. Get off my back.